Hello, I'm Regini Vaidyanathan. Iran's state television has broadcast a message attributed to the newly appointed Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei. While that message was read by an announcer, Khamenei was not seen or heard, and it gave no indication as to the state of his health. There have been some reports saying that he was injured in the attack which killed his father nearly a fortnight ago. Well, in the message, he said Iran would avenge the blood of its martyrs and continue to close the Strait of Hormuz.
It's also certain the leverage of blocking the Strait of Hormuz must continue to be used. Studies have been conducted regarding the opening of other fronts in which the enemy has very little experience and would be highly vulnerable. Activating these fronts would take place if the wartime situation persists and in accordance with broader strategic considerations. Our aim is actually to make them fail in a very regrettable way. The enemy is actually very vulnerable. They cannot open any new fronts, and we are going to open new fronts against them if deemed necessary.
Well, joining me in the studio is our diplomatic correspondent, Caroline Hawley. So, Caroline, in some ways, quite a curious message, because we didn't hear or see from him, did we?
I think, as expected, it was a message of defiance. The question is, did he even write it? He certainly didn't deliver it, but you know, it may be, we don't know, that he had the help of the powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps who he's allied with. It didn't tell us anything about his condition. I mean, we did learn some things, but it certainly raises many questions. He mentions that his father and his wife and sister were killed. He doesn't mention his mother. And we're now hearing that his mother wasn't actually killed, as we had initially heard in those airstrikes on the opening day of the war. It's interesting to hear some of the way he expresses himself, because he talks about his devoted wife being, he says, I have entrusted her to the caravan of martyrs. So that's the kind of language he's using, a lot of religious language. And he calls himself a humble servant. He addresses Iran's allies in the region, the so-called axis of resistance. He mentions Gaza, he mentions the Houthis in Yemen, he mentions militias in Iraq, and he says they are an inseparable part of the values of the Islamic Revolution. As you said, he talks about revenge. He said some of that has already been taken. He said it's not just vengeance for the death of his father, the late Supreme Leader, it's also for the civilians killed. And he mentions in particular the girls, more than 100 girls who died in that school in the southern port of Minab. And other interesting things, I mean, you heard there where he's talking about studies being conducted about opening new fronts. He says other fronts where the enemy has little experience and would be vulnerable. He addresses neighbouring countries. He says we want friendly relations with them, but they are the hosts of US bases, and he says they will still be attacked, and he advises those neighbouring countries to shut down the US bases. He talks about the enemy, this is his word, enemy having military and financial bases. I was interested to see that. And then in terms of some of the rest of the language, he says that he was honoured to see the body of his father after he was killed. And then he said he heard that his father, on his uninjured hand, had his fist clenched. So a kind of message there of the defiance carrying on from father to son. But I was also interested that he just said that he'd heard that. Did he not see it? So how close was he to his father at the time? And I think the key question is, what is his state of health? And we learned nothing about that from this.
Yeah, and of course we still haven't seen him. We've only heard from him today.
Absolutely.
Caroline, thank you very much for the very latest on that.